Good evening. It is July 15th, 2020. I hope everybody is doing well. Today's topic, isolation and compound movements, and we'll get right into this subject in just a moment. Hello, and welcome back. Anyways, once again, we're going to be talking about isolation and compound movements, or one versus the other. Before I get into the topic, there's a couple of things I'd just like to bring to your attention. One is a pet peeve, and the other is, well, it's just about getting a little bit more light on our subjects. Really trying to push this platform, trying to get word out there, build the YouTube channel, build my Facebook presence, et cetera, et cetera. So anything you people can do to help move that along, be very welcome. Likes and comments will always help, as well as Friday shows. I thought for sure I'd be able to get some guests a lot quicker than this, but I have no fear. I believe, over time, I put out more advertisement. There's got to be tons of people out there with some awesome stories, not just myself. And I'm sure I would like to hear them. And I'm sure there are many people out there would like to hear success stories, be it of all kinds. Stories about, losing a lot of weight or gaining some substantial muscle, changing your whole outlook in life through these means. Or coming from nowhere and to being a competitor and realize a lifelong dream, getting on stage. Also looking for individuals who've just been involved in the industry for years, or gotten into it in the last couple of years, and share their what their interest is, whether they're a promoter, whether they're maybe other trainers, whether they they own a gym, and how they view fitness and bodybuilding athletes. So much to discuss, and I believe now is the time. Now is the time to get on board. If you want, the sport or the art of natural training, to get more legs. Now's the time for it. I mean, we're in war. We're in a battle. There's no two ways about it. The drug community, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful manner at all, but the drug community has just completely overshadowed all the goodness of weight training, be it applied to the sport itself or how it applies to how people use it to better themselves in other areas in their life or through sport. So, do what you can. If you know somebody that has a story, check out the videos, like them, view them if you don't mind. All this will help to propagate my channels, propagate the platform, get more people interested in doing some of the same thing. And that would be wonderful. I said, my heart is in this. Yes, I'm doing this for a living. This is how I want to make my living. I love doing this. I've been in this game for over 40 years, and I plan to do it till the day I die. And I relish every day. I look forward to get up. I look forward to training. I look forward to finding out something new. And if I can pass that enthusiasm on to anybody else, that would be just wonderful. Second thing I want to get off my chest today, for the second day in a row. I kind of tackled this in a previous video where I discussed trainers, who you should use, who you shouldn't use. But for the last 2 days, I've gone into the gym and I see a prime example. This is nothing against the person as a person. I'm just looking at this strictly from a business point of view of what you should be doing and what people should be looking for. Anyways, where I was training, as soon as I walked in, this is probably the second or third time in a row, I see this trainer in there. This young lady, I'm going to imagine somewhere early 30s, somewhere around there. And she is training a gentleman at this point. He looks like he's probably in his 20s. He's definitely a beginner. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, you should not be training anybody. I don't care how much knowledge you have. If, there are, exclusions. I understand this, but as a rule, if you are not living the lifestyle, if you do not represent the lifestyle, that tells me two things. First of all, it tells me you do not follow your own your own training. You do not follow your own teaching. How can you be teaching somebody how to, develop a better physique or drop some weight when you're at least 40, 50 pounds overweight yourself? That's like me going into, Skid Row. Pardon me, I don't need to, I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner. Going to the Skid Row to find out how to become rich. It makes no sense. From a person who's employing that teacher, why do you want to go to somebody like that? You do not want to go to anybody like that. They're not they either don't know what they're doing or they don't truly believe in what they're teaching. So how are you going to benefit that? So you're spending, anywhere from 50, 60, $100 an hour to have somebody train you who doesn't even look like they train themselves. That's a bad move. I had to get that out of the way because there are some very good trainers out there who, because they don't get this little certificate that you get from some places for 3 hours online or a week online or a month or whatever, they don't let them train in the train people in their clubs. But yet to hire somebody like that to be their representation as a gym owner or a franchise owner, why would you want to do that? Because that person is not going to get results. They may be, fun and friendly and everything else, but in the end, you want to carry a relationship where people get results for their clients. Okay, I got that out of the way. It's off my chest. Let's move on to what's important. Compound movements, isolation movements. Once again, I always reiterate, I'm talking to natural athletes, but most of what I talk about is applicable to people who are on PEDs. Okay, but I'm also talking, I'm going to start right from grassroots and talk at the very beginning level, the lingo, the jargon, so people even know what we're talking about. Sorry if that bores some people. I understand that. Okay. But when people are talking about compound movements and isolation movements, an isolation movement is just how it sounds. You're basically taking a muscle group and you're taking a type of exercise or movement that basically removes it from having other accessory muscles do the work. That's about as simple a description that I can give you. Okay. It's basically isolating that muscle through a group of exercises that bring little to no effort from the auxiliary muscle groups to create that effort. Whereas a compound movement will generally, maybe I'll go back once and just say, for example, I'm hoping that at least you've done some type of exercise, but if you're not, a concentration curl for a bicep. Concentration curl, can be done almost in complete isolation depending on which style you do, what form you use. Okay? Take that, now we go into a compound movement. Okay? So your compound movement is basically where you're taking usually an exercise that incorporates one major group, but it allows other auxiliary muscle groups to help through the effort. So it's kind of a joint effort, okay, with one muscle as a primary focus. The classic example is going to be a squat. Okay, so when somebody is squatting, what you're after, most people are after, is to build the front quadriceps. But you can't build the front quadriceps in isolation doing a squat because you're bringing in your stabilizing muscles on your quad itself. You're going to bring in your hamstrings, but to some degree. You're also going to be utilizing core strength in order to stabilize yourself through the movement. That's what we mean by a compound movement. Now, each one of these styles has a place, and depending on what your goal is, they have more prominence or less prominence, and also at the level or stage you had in your training or what you're trying to attain at that time. I mainly talk to people who are in the game of either competing as a bodybuilder, competing as some type of, or a, physique, whatever. I mean, that type of realm, okay? Or fitness athletes, okay? But, then we have power lifters. And, we have people who are just trying to, lose weight, tone up, okay? So if you are a power lifter, you are almost going to do exclusively compound movements. It's not my forte. I can train people to power lift. It's a whole different mindset. And the goal is never to attain maximum muscle mass. It's to attain personal best in single reps. That's the whole game. You get on a platform on game day and you put together a total of, bench press, squat, and deadlift. That's what it's all about. So you're training completely differently, and very few power lifters incorporate any bodybuilding movements, but some do. Some believe in developing, all the muscle groups with a major focus on their compound movements. Okay. So for the power lifter, your training is always going to be compound movements. We'll just say that for the record. Okay. And you're going to train in a different form. You're going to do pyramiding sets. Pyramiding sets basically means you're going to slowly go up. You're going to do more reps, more sets than a bodybuilder would do, or certainly somebody that I would have doing a weight loss, weight gain, or a bodybuilding routine. You're going to do more sets, but you're going to work your way from your lowest type of weight with higher repetitions. When I mean high, generally powerlifters, they're not talking super high, but they're working down to a weight where they can rep out, one or two. And many times they won't do absolute singles. Okay. They'll save that for game day, or they'll only do that once in a while. They'll get down to where they're doing a personal best at 2 reps, maybe 3 reps. So they can, it's kind of a whole, it's a whole workup to the platform day. Okay. So let's take power lifters out of there. Okay. And we'll talk about, Joe average or Joanne average. Okay. So their goal is basically to either to lose some weight or to gain some tone, maybe a combination of the two. Okay. So do I have them on many compound movements? As a rule, not a lot, but I do believe in certain movements at the beginning of everybody's training regime. I know it's reiterated in the literature constantly, other than the new movement, which is basically actually mainly drug athletes, because they can get on nothing but a series of machines, take whatever they're taking, and they're going to grow on it. If you're looking for movements that create maximum stimulation, it's always good to have some compound movement in there. But because your focus is not absolute strength, it's best to incorporate intermittently or to incorporate it as a minor portion. If you're just a beginner, I might have you doing a little bit more of it. So I would generally take a new person, for example, and I would like to train them and have them doing deadlifts. I would like to have them doing squats. You will never hear me say I would like to have them doing bench press. You're going to hear me say this so many times. Bench press is a useless development movement. Now I'm talking the flat bench press. And if I haven't mentioned it before, which I know I have, but you want to know why, it's simply this. If you're a power lifter, okay, what is the ideal candidate for a world record in a bench press? It's going to be that guy with a huge barrel chest. Doesn't have to have great pec development, but just a huge barrel chest and stubby, short little arms. Why? Because they only have to move the bar a few inches. That's what the rules say. They take it off the supports, they drop it 6 or 8 inches, back up, it's done. It's a good movement. It's, they get flagged as good because they've done, they've touched, they haven't used any type of inertia, and they've locked out. But take that same body and imagine that doing that to build muscle. Your chest is getting very little work itself. You're doing mainly front delt, you're doing mainly tricep, because you're not taking your chest through any type of range of motion at all. You're not getting much in the way of a stretch, excuse me. You're getting next to nothing in maximum contraction. Taking that movement, because I still want you to do a compound movement, I will put you on an incline press. Many people stipulate the decline press as being a great exercise. I disagree. I've never been a proponent of decline press. I don't believe it does anything for the delineation of your lower pec whatsoever. I believe that's completely genetics, and how clean that looks at showtime is based on your diet. Okay? But, I still believe that given a choice, you would do decline or you do incline, because either one of those, because of the angle created, allows for a fuller range of motion. Therefore, you get pec development. But you're also doing a compound movement. You're bringing in triceps, you're bringing in your anterior deltoid. Yes, and so it works. Okay, so I'll have them do some of that. For those individuals, am I having them do like lots of that? No. And generally speaking, I am probably going to have it so that it's just like my other athletes that I'm training for shows. I'm going to have it as a secondary or a tertiary exercise. Why? Because we're not out there to gain maximum strength, but we do want to gain some good basic strength. So by going at it and taking an isolation movement first, we tire the main muscle focus muscle group out first, and then we go into the compound movement. Okay, so we're getting maximum focus on the muscle group intended, whether it be quadricep, whether it be chest, whether it be our back. And that's how I would handle a new beginner, so to speak, or somebody new with me. If I haven't seen what they can do, that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Now, for the fitness athletes and bodybuilders, I am going to have them doing some of that all the time. I don't believe at any given time as a natural athlete that you're going to develop your best physique without incorporating squats, at least to some degree, okay, and for a period of time, doing some deadlifting and doing some, a version of bench press, whether it be incline or decline. I think it's mandatory. And many people agree with me. I don't, there isn't a whole lot of science behind it, because sometimes in training, science is important, but science doesn't get you a Mr. Olympia physique. This gets you a Mr. Olympia physique. What you put in your mouth gets you a Mr. Olympia physique. But having some science behind it, the big thing about many people will tell you, if they squat, and they are, they like squats, or they go in there, even if they don't like them, they go in there and they give it 100% effort all the time. For some reason, the squat is a very stimulating movement for the whole body. And I can tell you this from all my years of experience, it is that way with me as well too. So it all depends on your ability to lock in mentally, though. You need to take advantage of that. If you do not lock in mentally, and you just go through the motions of a squat, you're not going to get that full benefit. And I believe the reason why you get this all over, body, this almost this testosterone boosting type of feeling is because there are more muscle groups coming into play. It's not, and your deadlift is kind of the same thing. When you're deadlifting, you're using your biceps, using your traps, using your lats, using your lower back, you're using your hamstrings, you're using your quads, in your core, you're using everything. So that's why you have this overall, euphoric feeling when you go all out on compound movements like that. Okay. So I'm always going to have somebody in there doing that type of a routine, and once again, I don't believe, even if it's the off season and your main focus, bodybuilders and fitness athletes, although their goal is not to be, how strong you are makes no difference when you get on a stage. Makes absolutely no difference. But I can tell you one thing. If you can take, slowly increase the weight in your movements as you go on through your career, you have a far better chance of developing correspondingly better developed or larger developed muscle. Is it always that way? No. But if you want to bet on the side of, don't leave it up to luck. That's all I got to tell you. Do not leave it up to luck. Do the compound movements. I guarantee you, focus in. This is how I would do it. So because I like to focus in on the fitness athletes, the bodybuilding athletes. Okay, I still do not use that as my first muscle, as my first movement, even in the off season. I would probably take something like my bench press, which I don't do, but I do the incline press. I have been doing incline press in either a barbell, Smith machine, or dumbbell for almost the whole entirety of my career. I threw out flat bench press after probably my second year of training. Because why? Because I did my homework. I looked, I watched, I asked, I read, and I put it all into application. And I came up with the same end result. It's not designed for many people. Some people can get development on it if they have the ideal ratio of chest size to arm length. It's still not the best. If you have that, you're still going to do far better on a decline or an incline. And, whether you do it as a dumbbell or a barbell or a Smith machine is irrelevant. You will tend to get a better stretch if you do dumbbells. But dumbbells, especially once you get up there and get stronger, they can be pretty scary looking, to hoist up a pair of 100-pound or 120-pound dumbbells, and anyways, and to do it without training partners. So there's restrictions. Some people might say it's the same thing with a barbell, but not necessarily, because you always have your rack and you have usually a studded backstop, so you can always, rest it anywhere you want. The best option, although it doesn't give you the same type of balance, is a Smith machine. Okay. I'll get more into preferences there maybe a little later in this video or another video altogether. Okay. So I would have somebody, for example, we're going to take chest. A classic chest workout for me, and almost exclusively, I don't believe you have to change exercises constantly or even that much over time. If you find exercises that you mentally can lock in on and they work for you, you're growing, and you actually like to do them. That's a winning combination. Why do you want to throw that out? Because somebody told you, you got to do, do something else this time. You got to do that. No, find exercises that, as long as they're working the muscle from as many different angles as possible, not necessarily all in the same workout, that's what you do. So for me, I always started with flat bench flies. Flat bench flies, as opposed to flat bench press, are beneficial. Why? Because it's, for you that are not, I wish I was actually doing a demonstration here, but we will get into exercise demonstrations later. But when you're taking a movement, you can just see from what I'm doing here, you're going to get a maximum stretch and you're going to get a maximum contraction. Okay. It's a beautiful exercise and you can develop some great strength. You also have to take great care. I see so many people do one of two things. They either, bring them in so much that they're in effect doing a flat bench press, which is useless, or they have them out so far and going down so far, they risk literally tearing their pectoral muscle. So exercise caution, but that goes with any exercise, okay? So I will wear that muscle out. For me, it's only I do a warm-up set and then I hit it hard. And I stay in that rep range of around 6. Once I'm getting over 6 for more than one workout, I don't care if it's 7 or if it's 8 or 9, but if I get it twice in a row, that's it. My weight goes up and I'm back down to 5 and 6 again. And then I'm doing 4 straps on top of that. But, if you're not into the HIT training, I'll have you doing a maximum of 2 to 3 sets. That is it. You're doing more than that, you're not working hard enough. Okay. So you finish with your flat bench, your flies. Then you can go into, I don't want you to take your compound movement, make it the very last movement, because it does require a lot of energy. So the whole idea here was you're going to get some pre-exhaust on the muscle, and then, but you're not going to be totally wiped out. So you have nothing left to put into this compound movement, whose sole focus is divided between development and strength gaining. You need to keep focusing on gaining some strength, getting stronger at the same time, so it helps your more of the isolation type of movements. Okay, so then I will go into my whatever version of incline press that I'm doing. And for me, I may or may not even, depending if I'm really feel warmed up at this point, and because I work very strict, I do not even do a warm-up set on my incline press. But I'm just not that strong an athlete. I never have been. But I've always had one of the best chests on stage. It's partly genetic, but also partly because of the mental focus, right? I've been smart about things, and I haven't had any real shoulder or chest injuries because I've been smart about it, made the most of every rep. So I pre-exhausted on the flies. Now I go into my incline press, and I'm working for that, 7 rep range. Get that last one out, maybe do a few partials, or I might even do a drop set. For you that aren't familiar with a drop set, I'll get off the machine, I'll take a couple of plates off, pump out a few more, maybe even get off again and pump out a few more. Whatever it takes to totally obliterate that muscle, that's what I'm doing. Okay. And then for me, I will finish with almost a complete isolation movement. Depending on, how far out I am from the shore or what that, if I'm trying to get in absolute my best condition, I'll go into a super isolation movement. And for me, that's always been cable crossovers. Okay. Cable crossovers, if done correctly, and most people do not do them correctly, are a great isolation movement. They will get a maximum contraction out of you. It'd be like hitting most musculars, for the whole duration of your set. It's a wonderful exercise. Okay. I do one other exercise, which many people are going to say, well, that's a back exercise. But for me, I want you to understand sometimes people do exercise, and yes, on the face value, it looks like it's strictly another muscle group. But because of where it's situated in my exercise regime, it benefits both. I go into, so I do back first, okay? So what I do is I'll do some type of pull down movement. Then I'll follow that with some deadlifts. I'll do a heavy rolling movement, whether it be dumbbell rowing or machine rowing or a barbell rowing, okay? And then I'll go into heavy pullovers, cross a bench. I mean, heavy for me, it's relative, right? I mean, I think my best lately has been like a 90-pound dumbbell, But I'm popping out, I'm doing a good thorough stretch on it, and I'm getting out, 6, 7 repetitions and taking that last one down as far as I can before I just release the dumbbell. And what that does is it creates that tie-in for my chest. So when I go from there, I go to my flies. So I have this great tie-in between chest and back, which is my ultimate workout. I always have done chest and back together for years. So that's what I want you to. So what's the takeaway from this video? Okay, so if you're a power lifter, you're almost going to do exclusively compound movements. Okay, you're going to do pyramiding sets, and you're going to, create a program where you're trying to get up to a personal best. Generally speaking, you're not shooting for a personal best all the time in your workouts, so okay, and you might do 10, 15 sets in the case of a workout. But then again, you're not doing multiple body parts, okay? If you're that person trying to gain weight or lose weight or just, look a little better for the summertime or to go into town or whatever the case might be, I want you to incorporate some compound movements, okay? I want you to do them strict. I want you to have a thorough warm-up exercise first. And don't be so concerned with going so low in repetitions. So for those people, I would be doing compound movements, but probably focusing in on, in and around that 10 rep range. And some people think that's still low. That's not low. When you're a bodybuilder, fitness athlete, to me, low is around 6. When you're around 10, that's kind of medium. And you get up into, 12, 15 reps, that's high repetitions. If you're calling 30 reps repetitions, you're not trying to be a decathlete here. Okay. You're just trying to, anyways, enough said on that subject. So, but if you're an actual bodybuilder, physique athlete, fitness athlete, whatever the case might be, I want you to take an isolation movement first, follow that up with a compound movement, so you're talking chest, you're talking some type of press, you're talking back, you're usually talking deadlift, or you can even consider a row, like a barbell row is a compound movement for sure. Okay, and obviously quads is going to be squatting. You can consider a leg press, but leg press is a lot more isolated. It doesn't bring in the same type of auxiliary muscles. It's much more of a focus exercise. So, the only real true form is whether it be a squat of some version. Okay. And that even people, think hack squats. Hack squats are still on a machine. It's still regulated. It's still guided. It's not the same thing. Okay. But, you can do front squats. You can do back squats. You can do Smith machine squats. You know, always be very careful though. It's one of those exercises where you can definitely incur injury, be it your knees or your lower back. You don't have to though. I'm proof positive. I've been doing squatting of some version for over 40 years. Okay. I don't have to do it all the time, but there was a time where I did it every workout I did for legs. Okay. Lately, I've been focusing a lot more on leg press. But anyways, that's it in a nutshell for compound, versus isolation. They both have their place. They both have their place based on the sports you're in, based on where you're at in your training. Okay. Do yourself a favor, utilize them both. And if you have any further questions, you can always contact me. I'm going to just put this on the screen there just for a little bit. I'd love to hear from you people. You can get a hold of me through YouTube. You can get a hold of me at my Instagram. You can get a hold of me on Twitter. And anyways, make it 100% effort. That's the whole idea here. Make it 100% effort. Utilize both styles of training. I definitely am against anybody that does exclusively machine training. You do not want to be doing exclusive machine training. You will never develop a complete physique working on machines. There's people that are going to argue that point with me, but they can argue to the cows come home. Most of these people have been having got a tenth of my training experience, and most of these people that argue that point are drug users. So, like I said, you cannot think like somebody who's using PEDs of any form, because you can develop a physique or develop strength doing almost anything. You can play hopscotch and develop your physique to a certain degree or develop strength. That's the reality. Talking about you, the natural athlete out there, you're the people that I care about. I mean, God love you. Being a Christian, I love everybody. But, this whole platform here for me is about the natural athlete, natural training individuals. People are doing it for the right way, for the right reasons, and they're going to be doing it for the rest of their life. Every person I can convert, either from taking drugs or, convince people that this can be a wonderful lifestyle. That means as much to me as gaining a new client. It really does. So for all you out there, thank you for watching. Do your best, as I asked you at the beginning of this video, to spread the word. Go to wherever and click likes, follow, whatever you have to do. Pardon me if I sound a little bit bush league when it comes to my social media lingo, but this is a whole new realm for me. I'm doing it all on my own at this point, trying to develop all my different platforms, and it takes a little bit of work, but we're going to get there. And if you know of anybody with a story, it doesn't have to be some miraculous story. It can just be something that they thought was just for them it was just amazing, or it made such a big change in their life. Get them to get in touch with me. It's nothing to be afraid of. They get to sit in the comfort of their home. All they have to do is have a webcam, with mic, sit in front of their computer, we'll have a very at ease type of discussion. They can tell their story. I'll ask them a few questions, nothing too delving, nothing they don't want to get into. And, they get people, to find out who they are and what they've done. And if you're a competitor, it gives you some exposure. Doesn't everybody could use some exposure? It's going to help you in the long run. Anyways, once again, I'm Perry with Bullfierce Training in association with Bullfierce Media. God bless, take care, and until next time, we will see you.